What's going on, everyone? Adam Gelman here again. Very excited to be making these videos and continuing to provide a lot of resources and content around educating people around the hobby about things like product conceptualization, product, reception, why it drives a lot of the things that they're driving across the marketplace and how the hobby is responding to things. I'm going to sort of break a little bit from the normal sort of content a little bit and do a little of focused content around things that wrestling collectors may not have a lot of specific familiarity with, like how products are built, why they're built the way that they are, specifically today around Select. And, the way that the hobby has responded to Select, I think, has been nothing short of surprising. But awesome nonetheless because it's one of my probably my favorite WWE products ever released, and the things that Panini was able to accomplish with Select are going to be representative of some of the things that I think that they're going to be trying to do going forward as part of their ongoing brand. And so I want to discuss today kind of the breakdown of Select and how it all sort of functions, specifically referring to the different levels of base, because it's the first time in wrestling I think we've seen this. And it's the first time that many wrestling collectors have been exposed to a set like this. And it's not something that's new to Select, and it's not something that's new to the hobby. But I think that there's a lot of challenge in trying to figure out how all of these levels of base cards are shaking out and where the value exists in all of them. So, just to give everybody kind of a starting point here, so there are four base levels within Select, and it's been that way for a very long time. And it's something that, as Panini's built these products, they've needed to accommodate for a couple of things. When Select was first released, like, it was a much simpler set, and it was much simpler because the product itself was designed to be sort of a sister to what Topps Finest is on the baseball side. And so when Select was first released, it was one of the first expansions of Panini's Chromium type stock line. So it started with Prism in 2012, as really the new sort of direction for Panini's flagship brands. So Prism was always meant to be the answer to Topps Chrome. When that eventually sort of struggled at first, but started to catch on and started to be a regular release every year, Panini decided it was time to sort of expand that line the way that Topps had been able to do it successfully in their sports. So Select was really the first time that we saw a major expansion. It eventually expanded into sets like Mosaic and Spectra and all of those other products that really drive a lot of the market in the hobby right now, because so many collectors have loved the shiny products, and they love them because they're bold, they have really awesome color saturation, awesome photos, lots of autographs, relics, you name it, it's been covered as part of Panini's sort of chrome stock type lines. So let's look at Select from a WWE perspective. We've already gotten Prism, which was one of the most landmark products ever to be released in WWE. Then we have Select, which is kind of a different approach, right? So Prism is much more straightforward. It's one base card, it's one autograph or a couple of inserts, and the parallel structure is pretty consistent. There's a lot of them, but in Prism, it's, you've got the base card, you've got the silver, you've got the red wave, and so on and so forth, all the way up to black. Select is completely different. And it's different because there's four levels of base that all have different parallels that extend specifically to those individual pieces of the set. So let's look at the bottom level, and that's the concourse level. The cards for concourse look like this. And you can see that when you are building out packs, Panini has Concourse as the main card that is delivered in the most prominent way in those pack structures. So when you open a pack of cards, you're likely going to get more Concourse cards than any other card. The next level above that is Premier, and Premier looks like this. So when you are looking at the designs, I'm trying to do this without the reflection from my light. When you are looking at the designs, it has a completely different design than the Concourse. Plus, it is inserted much more differently than the Concourse, which is kind of like the standard base. Premier is kind of like the one step above. Now, even above that, we're seeing another level, which is the ringside. Now, the ringside in every sport is the most rare level. You usually get only probably 3 to 4 per box, and those cards are delivered in a way that are meant to be kind of like the most rare version of the base. So if you get a ringside base, it is the top of the 3 levels. Then there is also a mezzanine, which is retail exclusive. So as you can see, when you open a blaster, you're going to get a lot of concourse, which have a red and blue pattern. You're going to have red and blue premier, and you have red and blue ringside. Those are the retail versions of all of these different cards, and you also have a blaster exclusive parallel called Mezzanine, which is completely different than all of those. So, in theory, there are 3 major base levels. Then there are 3 major retail base levels. Then you also have the Mezzanine. Each of those sets has its own numbering, has its own parallel structure, and the parallel structure varies from card to card. So things like lime green in Concourse out of 49 does not exist in any of the other parallels. Same with the white Concourse out of 99, does not exist in Premier, does not exist in Ringside. Ringside also has the smallest parallel structure of any of them. There's only a handful of prism type variations. So you have like the base, the silver ringside, which is a case hit. So you get 1 silver ringside per hobby case. Then there is the golds and the tie-dyes and the blacks and all of that other stuff, plus a retail configuration as well. Now, in other sports, the ringside set is field level. And the field level has always been the rookie that everybody wants to get out of select. So if you have a guy like, you know, Patrick Mahomes, and you go and try and find his field level select card, it's going to be the most expensive rookie. The difference between that and what we're seeing in WWE is that the parallel structure is even more crazy in those sports because Panini has had to print more of the set every single year. So when you look at this from the perspective of how to think of this license going forward and forward and forward, will there be an expansion to the point where we're seeing the die cut cards that we're seeing in football, and the die cut cards that we're seeing in basketball, the crazy base stock patterns. So you have like everything that goes from like dragon scale to snake skin to you name it, whatever. In football, additionally, there is mezzanine type cards in the hobby pack, so there isn't kind of this retail separation the same way that there is in WWE. And because Select is printed at a level in WWE that's less than football, they haven't needed as many parallels to structure the set to deliver the types of case counts that they've been able to sort of plan out. So when you're looking at like a football or a basketball set, Select can have 20 to 40 parallels per base card. And those parallels usually exist to extend out a product run beyond what it would be expected to be extended in WWE. So going forward, I think we're going to see Select become a regular set. We're going to see Prism become a regular set. And those sets are likely going to change as things continue to move forward with the demand for these cards. So as these boxes continue to have more and more parallels, it will represent a larger and larger print run for those sets. Now, we're also seeing some really awesome trends in the way that Select is sort of resonating with collectors. And the reason is because a lot of these photos that you can see in these cards are very superstar focused. And unlike Prism, where pictures were usually focused on 1 of 2 things, either kind of like their entrance or a finisher, the Select cards usually focus on something that is much more superstar delivered. So you're seeing much more high res up close photography where the wrestler is the only card and the only person in the picture. They're all vertical, no horizontal cards, which was a different sort of approach that Prism had taken with some of the superstars. And the parallel structures add a level of complexity that a lot of people have really enjoyed collecting rainbows for. So when you see like the premier maroons are out of like 75 or 99 or whatever, plus you have like the really low level parallels out of 5, the greens across the board, the golds, which drive almost every part of the shiny market in Panini. Plus you have these blacks, which have specific significance because instead of just being 1 black, which there are in Prism, there's now 4. There's a mezzanine, there is a ringside, There is a Premier and there's a Concourse one as well. So each of these cards has like this chase element involved. So you can actually like sort out rainbows by parallel, right? So instead of saying, I'm just going to collect the Becky Lynch rainbow, which I have very close to in Prism, now I have to say, I'm going to collect the Concourse rainbow, which is all of the different levels in that set. Now, I'm going to put a link in the description of this video that kind of walks through the parallel structure for um, each of those sets, and you can sort of see how many there are according to each specific thing. I might actually throw it at the end of this video too, just so that's a good reference point. But this is what makes Select so much fun. There's so much to chase. And so for me, usually Prism was like 20 cards. Select, it's like 100. And so it creates this level of collector chase that really just didn't happen the same way in Prism. And it gives more people opportunity to own the rarest cards there are. There are 5 ringside greens that are only numbered to 5. There are also 5 Premier greens. There's also 5 Concourse greens. Like all of those things, there's now 15 of those cards instead of just 5. And similarly with the blacks, 101s, you have all 4 of the black sort of ones that we see in the base sort of chase major hit for each of those things, but you also have the retail black and gold. So not only do you have 4 black one of ones, you also have 3 black and gold one of ones. The mezzanine doesn't have a black and gold. So you can imagine that like now instead of just chasing that one black, which is the primary chase in Prism, now you have like 7. And it's just crazy to think like how much fun that is for player collectors, how much fun that is to rip both the hobby cases and the blaster boxes. Like again, this is what makes Select the product that a lot of people have gravitated towards, both in WWE and other sports, because for a long time, this is the set that Panini put out there to keep people sort of chasing and keep people going while they sort of figure out some of the other premium sets that may not necessarily have the same level of focus. As we get into years 2 and 3, we'll start to see things added and subtracted that may make this set even more fun. How do you expect die cuts to come into it? More autographs, different formats, different designs, different base levels, like all of that. And that's what people really never sort of think about is that this license is not a 1-year license. This is a 4 to 5 year expansion. So whatever happens in year 1 is just 1 year out of however many. So as we get going into years 2 and 3, Panini's not just going to come back and release another version of this that has no innovation, no changes, nothing. They're going to make this set really cool to collect as it goes from year to year. Plus, you have new names like Bray Wyatt, Cody Rhodes, all those people who Cody Rhodes only had 1 card in this entire set, and that was the ringside. So what happens when Cody Rhodes now has 4 of those cards? And what happens when Bray Wyatt comes back? Braun Strowman, like you name it. There's a lot of people like Roxanne Perez even who only had a mezzanine card as a rookie from NXT, but next year we'll have probably a lot more part of it. Like those are the types of things that are going to drive future years, plus new parallels, new chases, you name it. So I wanted to give this video as kind of an explanation because I've gotten so many questions about Select and how it performs in the market. And you're going to see that like as you start to look at things like the black 101 ringsides, how those are performing versus the black and gold. Like how are the gold flashes from performing against the regular golds? Like those are the types of questions that I think the market still has yet to sort out a lot. And I'm really excited to see how this plays out over the next 6 to 12 months because as we approach 2023 and the beginning of Panini's first sort of sequel year to their original, like it's no longer a debut, how does that change the way the market is responding to some of these cards? So very excited to sort of have these conversations going forward. Be sure to follow me on Twitter. My handle is at SC Uncensored. Follow me on Instagram. You can see my Becky Lynch Super Collection progress there. It's at WWE Gelman. You can also visit my website, www.sportscardsuncensored.com, or keep checking back here to the content channel for Wrestling Trading Cards, which provides a huge amount of videos across the board for every which subject you can think of. So really excited to have to be a part of this network and continue to produce content because it's something that I think is really cool for the hobby to be able to have resources like this. I have nothing but respect for a lot of the content creators out there because I can now see how difficult it is to build some of these types of discussions. But really excited to keep going, and thanks again for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe subscribe. Keep forgetting to say that because I'm not your usual YouTube content creator. But I'm really like, this is something that's been a ton of fun for me, and I hope to keep doing it. Thanks again, everyone.